Hello and welcome back to another episode of our MotoGP 23 career mode, and today we're here for the second round of our full Moto3 season for the Argentinian Grand Prix. Now if you didn't see the first race of this season at the Portuguese Grand Prix, I do recommend you go check that one out because it was a pretty good episode. We had a good battle with some of the lead riders, so we finally were on a decent pace, so I hope you guys did enjoy that one. If you didn't see it, do go check it out, although I suppose you can already see the results on screen, so I do apologise for that, but that's your fault, I guess, for missing the previous one. But either way then, heading into this episode, I'm keeping the AI difficulty the same. We put it up to 120 for the race in Portimao, so we're going to keep it at that for Argentina, see how we get on. I did a little test in a race and they seem okay at 120, and of course I'll get quicker over the course of the weekend, so I think we actually might be able to have a good battle with the leaders once again here at the Argentinian Grand Prix. But without any further ado, we may as well head into the weekend. I'll see you after free practice. Well, the simulated times are certainly back in force. Diogo Moreira ended up top of practice 1, but he was absolutely nowhere the whole time I was on track. He was right down the back. Holgado second, Masia in third place. Not really seen anything from Masia at all over these races so far, but finally showing his hand a little bit there on the Leopard Honda. But all these times are simulated because they're in the 47s. They were doing 48s on track. They were more like, they were basically where I am, 27th place. I actually find it crazy though that I've managed to beat my teammate Scott Ogden, so I guess he didn't really do a better lap time. I think he did because I wasn't that close to him before. I wasn't like a few hundredths, but we have actually managed to beat a simulated time in this session, so I'll absolutely take that one. It shows that we have got some pretty good pace. But I'm back here with my mates once again, Carrasco and Ogden. I've seen some of your guys' comments now joking about me struggling in the debut season because at this point the game is now finally out when I'm recording this, and the videos have gone up so I can actually see what you guys have said to it. I was hoping with the day one patch that they'd actually fix the simulated times issue, but clearly they haven't. I've seen so many people complaining about it online. It got mentioned in the MotoGP Discord server. Someone linked my video as well just to show it off. So yeah, it is a little bit of a problem. Well, a massive problem really. It makes it very, very difficult to qualify well. I still don't really know how I actually ended up on the front row in Portimao. But either way then, we may as well head into qualifying. It is going to be another one of those sessions where it's just doing qualifying for the sake of doing qualifying because it's pretty clear that I'm going to start last. Maybe actually I could out-qualify a couple of people. It does depend. I mean, if I do a really good lap time, maybe we can beat some of them, because also we beat Ogden in this session, but it doesn't really look like it, unfortunately. So here we are then in qualifying, and you can see, even in practice 2, they didn't improve, or some of the AI did. I saw some 46s from the top guys, but Ogden didn't improve, so we actually did genuinely beat all of Scott Ogden's simulated times, which is really, really promising because, of course, we are on the same bike, and according to sort of the performance index, this bike is actually quite poor, so I'm actually pretty happy to be beating him so far. So we have got a couple of fresh tyres to use for qualifying, which is always nice. But we'll head out onto the circuit now. I'll do a pit start. I might do another one of these things where I try and stay on the track the whole time, but it doesn't really work because I tried it in Malaysia, and they still did their simulated times even after I crossed the line. I did have a commenter telling me just to use the fast forward section to skip to the end of the session instead of just pressing the end session button, and I was already doing that actually. I was already doing the fast forward, so I might actually try the end session this time and see if that makes any difference. If that fixes it, then of course I'll let you know. Now of course it is possible that they genuinely did beat me as well, but clearly when they all improve by that much, it is the simulated times. And I did dip into the pits as well at one point just to change the tyres, put a new fuel load in, and they did actually improve by like a whole second. A few AI did, not all of them, just a few, and it was some like random people at the top of the timesheets, whereas before it was actually Artigas. And by the end of my run of laps, I was actually basically right on Artigas's time from before because he didn't actually improve whilst I was in the pits. So I was basically up there, one of the top riders once again, just like we were in Portimao. But unfortunately, this glitch is really putting me out of the championship hunt, even though I know it's only round 2, making it much more difficult than I would like. We've got Kaito Toba in front of us then. I don't know if he'll be a particularly good marker, but we will find out. I did use Munoz for part of practice, and he really wasn't a very good one. So here we are then, getting ready to start our qualifying lap. It's going to be tricky because they don't seem to be really weak at this circuit like they did in MotoGP 22. Although, to be fair, they were pretty good in the other classes. It was just mainly Moto3 that they were weak at this circuit. I suppose a lot of that was to do with opening the power, so would explain why they're so fast on this year's game. So here we are then. We have closed a lot up to Toba, up towards the line. What's this going to be? Third place provisionally, 49.0. So there's more time on the table for me than that. I've gone quite a lot faster than that so far. this weekend, so I do need to try and pull my finger out a bit, and as we do that, as I say that, we've passed Kaito Toba, so clearly I do mean business, but unfortunately he's pushed me out of the way, and we've probably ruined this lap already. Right, so I'm trying the unorthodox strategy of getting onto the back of my teammate, although to be fair, I've probably just blown it completely already. I made a big mistake through the last corner trying to shift up into power mode 3, but Toba just was too slow. He wasn't a very good marker, a bit like Hazard Munoz was in practice. So I think we're going to improve. Actually, I don't know if we did. No, we didn't quite improve. I thought we were going to, but not quite. Even though it said we were plus 0.5 off, I'm actually 0.6 off the top. Maybe we're just 0.5 off Fanati in third. But it looks like we're going to run out of fuel, unfortunately. And we're going to struggle to get back round. So, in fairness, I can't really complain in this session because they genuinely have beaten me. It's a shame because I did go much quicker in free practice, as you saw. And I think I would be quick enough to go through if I could replicate our lap time. But for whatever reason, maybe it's the cloudy conditions, I'm just not quite doing it. So somehow I actually did make it round on the amount of fuel that we had left. We had virtually none. So I have got maybe 3 more laps at this, 4 minutes. It's basically a 2-minute lap, so I basically got one more, maybe 2 flying laps. If I can just get around quick enough, I might have 2 flying laps at this. Actually, we should be okay, because it's 1 minute 50, isn't it? So I think we've basically got 2 more attempts, I think, to try and improve our position. And we definitely need to, because we're behind Carrasco and Ogden again, and I can't blame the simulated times this time. Well, I made an awful decision regarding tyres this time. I just thought I'd try a soft front because it is cloudy, but you can see it's just not working. The time was not there either anyway. So it looks like we are going to be last on the grid, and partially down to simulated times because I should have gone through into Q2, but they seem to have upped their pace. Well, actually, I don't even think they've upped their pace particularly. I think they have maybe a bit, but I've just not got my pace of the previous sessions in this one. I don't know why, whether it's because it's cloudy or whatever, but the bike just seems slower. So yeah, they did improve anyway at the end of the session with their simulated times. You can see they basically went a second quicker than they had done before. I was stuck on my 49.0, so we were literally a second off the nearest rider in the end. But even still, we actually were last, which is a surprise because we were running pretty well in FP1 until the simulated times came in. So I don't know what's happened, why we're so slow all of a sudden, but it does seem like we're back to the debut season pace, which isn't ideal to say the least. That is pretty poor, to be honest. So I think for the sake of us actually having a race, I'm going to put it down to 100, see how we get on there. Hopefully we don't cut through the pack too much. If we do, then I might back off a little bit, I don't know, but yeah, we'll have to see. So I'll turn it down to 100, see how we get on. So we're down here on the grid then, and I've adjusted the AI difficulty, like I said. I think it is going to be a case of just adjusting it for each track in this game. A bit like how they do it in the F1 game. I know a lot of the F1 YouTubers, they sort of change their difficulty from track to track. There's going to be somewhere that AI are a bit overpowered, somewhere they're not. And to be honest, that's probably better, because at least I can have a good race at every track, whereas in the previous years, there were some tracks where they were a bit overpowered, but I used to keep the difficulty at 120, because there were also tracks where they were really poor, and I didn't want to take advantage of that one too much. But we're starting from last place on the grid once again here. We've started here quite a few times, so I think it's going to be difficult to try and beat Ricardo Rossi in this race, but maybe we can get into that top 15 if we have a good start.
Formation lap complete, and riders are lined up on the Termas De Rio Hondo front straight. Just a few more seconds and we'll get going in the Argentine Grand Prix.
So Moreira on pole, then Holgado second, Masia in third. So it seems like Masia is doing a bit better here at Argentina, but the lights are on then, waiting for them to go out here for the Argentinian Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go. We've had a pretty decent launch off the line. We're going to the outside as we go down towards the first corner. All the AI are actually going to the outside now as well. We're going to try around the outside of Fanati. Well, we already have had a good start, haven't we, compared to the AI. Trying to run right around the outside of them. Picking the bike up a bit there. But I guess that's just the throttle doing it. And we really have had a good start. We're already up into the top 20. So we've passed about 10 riders already. So I hope this is not a sign that we've made a bit of a mistake here. But I assume they'll probably be a little bit quicker. We've been pushed out of the way, though, by somebody there. It's Colin Vire. We've picked up a child miss warning as well for that. I'm not very happy because obviously that's one of our total of 5 there. And we're now being put on the curb by David Alonso. So none of these AI showing us much respect as always. Again, I've seen a lot of comments about you guys moaning about the AI's aggressivity. And to be fair, I can't say I disagree, although there is a certain knack to racing them, but it is quite difficult, especially with the bike picking itself up when I'm trying to actually power underneath them. So we're into the top 20, like I said. Hopefully we can keep moving forward. At this point in time, Ricardo Rossi is not on a massive point scoring position because he's gaining 10 points. Sorry, we're going to still be 10 points in front of him at the end of this round. And at the minute, we'd only have 16, so he can't be picking up too many points because, again, he didn't pick up many in the previous race as well. But side by side with Romano Fenati, try to go around the outside of him. I think we've pulled that one off, but we might have to pick up a little bit, leave him a bit of space. Side by side with him, I think we actually might have him there. I thought he was going to have the inside because I clipped the curb, but surprisingly, we've actually managed to pass Fenati, although he'll probably try and ride through me through turn 11. One of the most overpowered AI corners, and here comes David Alonso again as well. We're just going to get trapped in this pack if we don't do something drastic, but we've got past Fenati then. Look at the inside of Colin Via on this occasion, not quite being able to do it. So using a bit of power mode 3, trying to manage the power mode 3, but if you remember back to Portimao, we were pretty limited on fuel, so I need to make sure I don't abuse it too much, because I used it basically for the first couple of laps there, and never really recovered. I had to use a bit of power mode 1 at the end, just to be safe. It seems like the fuel usage is a little bit more aggressive in this game, which is good, because I think it was way too generous, but it should be 22. So here comes Bertelli. Bertelli's just come through. Just realised I actually probably wasn't Fenati then that we're battling before. It probably was Bertelli. But now I've been overtaken by David Alonso as well, so I can see how this race is going to go. It's just going to be these two overtaking me constantly. It looks like we've already lost touch with the lead group, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that we'd actually be able to cling on to the back of them. So again, looks like we're fighting for no points in this season. Well, in this career mode, in this season, to be fair, we've had a pretty good stellar start, but so annoying. If I could run my own lines, I could maybe try and run their pace, but when I'm having an AI diving up the inside or knocking me out the way constantly, it makes it so difficult. Around the outside of David Alonso, I picked up another child of his warning, so literally 2 in 2 laps. Both times because of David Alonso, I think. Well, actually, it might have been Bertelli on one of them, but either way, we've picked up a child of his warning, trying to go around an AI. I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of the race again now. And Alonso has just tried to ride through me, so again, he's done the AI bump pass. I'm going to try and get it back into the penultimate turn, just try and close up to the back of Colin Via if I can. I'm going to have to really go over the limit, I think, on this next lap, just to try and negate the AI, but they seem so good in some parts of the track, so bad in others, that it just makes it so difficult, because they have quite a good sequence of corners. Like, they're pretty good through sort of turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, then they suffer a little bit, but it's just enough to allow them to get through, especially if I go wide like that. But it's so difficult for me to actually turn the bike in, and because I'm trying to make all my time up on the brakes as well, I'm sometimes overshooting. Here comes David Alonso then, he's going to pass me, but at least he's passed me before the corner this time, so I can try and get the better line through the corner than him, use it for a bit of slipstream. We should be able to, well, we're going to pass him easily here, because even though he's got a bit more straight line speed than me, we get a bit of a side draft from him, and then we'll easily pass him on the brakes, so we might actually have disposed of him. And now I can focus on maybe just trying to reel in Via ahead. Here comes David Alonso once again. He's just slipstreaming past me, so unfortunately we didn't have the benefit of his toe this lap, which we did on the last lap. You can see how much I'm pushing, by the way, I'm backing it in on the entry there, just to try and gain every inch I can. I've picked up the throttle probably too early on this lap. It's going to cost me a bit, but you can see we really are starting to lose touch now. Now we do gain in this next part of the lap a bit on them, but even still, it's very much like Malaysia, where there's some parts of the track where we're quite good, some parts of the track where we're not. I'm just hoping that maybe they hit some sort of tyre troubles, because that did happen in Portimao, so if I can stay near them, they might drop back a bit. I've just basically rode a lap as good as my qualifying time on that lap, so that has really put us in a good position. We finally gapped Alonso by a decent amount, so if we could try and do this first sector well, we might be able to keep him at bay, and then we can really just focus all of our efforts on catching Via. But you can see I'm using so much fuel up, it's just really dangerous for our race, but I can't afford to get stuck behind Alonso. So Ricardo Rossi's actually dropped out of the points now. I can see him, he's literally only 2 riders in front. There's Via, Munoz, and then Ricardo Rossi, and wow, that was a big moment in turn 1 on how we stay on the bike, but probably allowed us to catch up because we braked a little bit deeper. And we are just about keeping with these guys in front. I really could just do with the slipstream off. If I had the slipstream, I think I'd be there. Just need a couple of more attempts for that, really. I'm really struggling to keep on the back of these guys. I'm having to basically do perfect laps. I mean, all of my lap time is basically coming in like 2 corners of the track. It's the end of the back straight. Actually 3. The end of the back straight, penultimate turn, and then, I don't know what corner it is, but the one with all the blue runoff on the outside. Those are the only places I'm actually gaining any time. And you can see I'm basically on my personal best, like a 10th off it. And you can see David Alonso is actually going to pass me here, and we're 1.3 seconds behind Colin Via now. So this is what it is, like a literally yo-yoing. So here comes David Alonso then. mean, it's not a massive issue because he's not actually passing me, like block passing me anymore. But with him being that close, now it means he possibly can block past me. Whereas before, if he was solidly behind and I was outbraking him, there was no chance he was going to pass me anywhere. But now, it's still a possibility. See, I've got 0.4 on him, and 1.1 behind Colin Vire in front. So Ricardo Rossi is really dropping back now because Colin Vire is all over the back of him. And you can see all of a sudden on this straight, I'm just losing a load of time. I was actually a tenth under my time coming onto the straight. And then all of a sudden up the straight, I just lost a load of time. But my exit was pretty good. I didn't lose it all on the exit. So quite what that's all about. Ricardo Rossi has now dropped behind Colin Vire. So I think there's no risk of him scoring any points. Which means our good performance from Portimao is probably going to save us. Going to allow us to beat him in the rivalry. I'm hoping that maybe in Kota we can be a bit more on the pace again. But so far, it's been really hit and miss in this career. We've had a round where we've been decent. A round where we're not. So we're on lap 9 then. You can see Ricardo Rossi is already dropping back from that group ahead, so hopefully we should be able to actually catch him and maybe pass him. And maybe a bit of a slipstream will help. I mean, I could do with a tow. It seems to be the straight where I'm losing a considerable amount of time. The fuel's holding out pretty well though. We've been able to use Power Mode 3 for pretty much this whole race, which is lovely, because we've needed it. Don't know why it was so limited at Portimao, and really I looked after it quite well there. Whereas here, I've been abusing it quite a bit. I'm going to probably have to save a little bit. You see I've got 0.4 in reserve, so maybe in the last couple of laps we'll have to turn it down, but at least it would make sense because we've been in Power 3 for most of the race. Right, we are literally on the back of Ricky Rossi now, so surprisingly it seems like we might be able to beat him, but unfortunately the points are just up the road and they're pulling away from us. Really, he was a cork in the bottle that was allowing us to keep up in a way. So we've got 2 laps to try and pass Rossi, although in fairness, I don't think it really makes much difference because it's for 0 points anyway. Even though he's my rival, it probably is better to try and actually just finish ahead of him. But it certainly is one of those races where we destroyed him last time. But we've been brought back down to his level for this one. Which is crazy. Like, you wouldn't think you turn the difficulty down by 20% and you finish 20 positions lower, would you? It is a bit weird. I'm glad that I've got long races, because I think if the races were shorter, I'd actually be struggling more, because we'd be running out of time. But here comes Bertelli then. Bertelli has finally got back ahead of me. We're going to get him back on the brakes, I would imagine. But that just shows that we're in trouble, that now these AI that couldn't pass me before are passing me most laps again. Especially since my lap times haven't particularly dropped. It's just everybody else's have got a lot better. But here we are then at the other side of Ricardo Rossi. We've made a bit of a mistake there. Fortunately though, we've been able to keep Bertelli behind. That's what's crucial. We might have got the inside here as well. He is really, really struggling. We're pretty close. He's left us the space in fairness. But we've still not been able to overtake him. You can see how slow we are compared to our previous times. He's holding us up so much. I mean, I know my dive bomb probably didn't help, but there goes Bertelli. So we've actually lost the position to Bertelli now. So in trying to pass Ricardo Rossi, we've actually dropped back into 20th place. And here we go, around the outside of Bertelli though. We've absolutely mugged him off through the penultimate turn. And there's a lap to go then here. We've probably got enough fuel just to make it to the end in Power 3, but I might switch it down to Power 2 if we could get past Ricardo at any point. But it's going to be tough because we're going to have Bertelli try to stick it up the inside into some pretty fast corners. They could just open up the power so much earlier, so much more effectively as well. They just got a lot more power, it seems. I think if I had more power, I'd probably be much more on the pace, which I think maybe is the point. Maybe that is what's supposed to happen in this career mode. Obviously, we don't really know because this is our first time experiencing this all-new MotoGP career mode. But you can see there, Bertelli is right behind us, but we've actually got a better exit onto the straight than Ricardo Rossi. So we have got the slipstream for basically the first time since lap 1. And here we go, down towards turn 6. Are we going to make the move? Up the inside we go, up into P18. So again, it's not fighting for the positions we want. We have at least made the position up on our championship rival. Well, not a championship rival, but the rival that we've been assigned by the game, our manufacturer rival, the rival that we're battling to try and get some better equipment from Honda, which, judging by this race, we certainly need. To be fair, we actually haven't lost that much ground to the 3 ahead. We're 2.3, and we were pretty much 1.6. A lot of points around the track, and what are they doing in front? They are really going at it. I think if we had a lap or two, we might actually start to catch these guys, because they're really battling hard. We've put a whole second into Ricardo Rossi as well now, so we should be absolutely safe. Well, I said a whole second, it's 0.9, but you know what I mean. It's going to be safe when we're coming to a corner where we're probably getting half a second on him. So here we are then. Another lowly position after the heights of P2. It's back down to reality for P18 here at the Argentinian GP. I mean, fair enough if they actually are doing 47s of the race, because those guys did genuinely beat me on track. So if the leaders are doing 47s, then fair play. 47.6 for Joel Kelso. So they were a significant amount quicker than me. We were pretty much on pace with the riders we were around. It was just, yeah, we were a little bit slow. Only 13 seconds off the win, though, to be fair. It's actually not too bad, considering we were about 3 seconds off the win last time. And that was, of course, P2. And you can see the guys at the front were a lot closer, like the top 6 in one pack. Then there was a group down from Asman to probably on Tube by the looks of it. And then it was us next, really. It was the Via, Toba, Milnioff group that we were just off the back of. So maybe if we'd got in the mix with some of those groups early on, we'd got dragged away. But it's so difficult. They had a massive advantage in so many aspects. Power, turning, everywhere. So it was pretty difficult. So we moved down to 6th position in the Riders' Championship. Now 25 points off of Ivan Ortola. So it's only been 2 races and we're already a race wins down on the championship leader, so that's going to be pretty difficult to come back from in this game. In the past, I probably wouldn't be worrying too much about that. I'd say it's pretty possible, but the AI don't seem to crash very much in this career mode from what I've seen, and they are very, very fast at some of the circuits, so it doesn't look like we're going to get any free victories. Maybe some of the rounds later on in the season, like Le Mans, we might have a shot, but yeah, it's going to be quite tough. And if we look where Ricardo Rossi is, he drops down to 15th on only 4 points. In the Teams Championship, we dropped down, again, 5 positions from 2nd place to 7th. I guess it is all very, very bunched up in this championship, but that's not really my doing. 20 points that are there are all mine. Scott Ogden is just not pulling his weight in this team so far. But there we go then, another tough race in Argentina. So we'll head back to the career hub, see what we get. Well, I suppose it might be some... Well, actually, it's not going to be anything, is it? Because we didn't achieve the team's objective of getting 15th. But we are a race closer to beating Ricardo Rossi. So hopefully a race closer to getting some better equipment in our team. So we lost 650 for failing to finish in the top 15. But back in the career hub, you can see we've got some messages on the feed. So we've got Scott Ogden. It's a tough time for Biker. They're struggling to get the results and we're behind in the team objectives. But in Texas, we'll try to change direction. So we can see my performance wasn't good. I'll try to change things already in Texas. If you think that kind of comment could bother me, then you're sorely mistaken. Bad races happen. I'll recover next weekend. Now, in fairness, I'm beating Scott Ogden in these races, so he can't really say anything. So you know what? He's getting a bit of a backhanded compliment there, because he's being a bit rude to us, and we're actually beating him in every race, so he's just being a bit salty, and there you go, he's now got a bad rep with us as well, which isn't great, because we need some good rep with the rest of the Honda riders. So I think I will probably butter up Messier a little bit, and we'll be nice to Messier and try to prove our relationship with him. But Ogden seems to be quite rude to us a lot of the time. Ricardo Rossi has picked us out as an enemy for literally no reason. And since we're talking about the relationships, let's go and have a look in the paddock to see our relationships. They are pretty much fine with everybody except for Ricardo Rossi and Scott Ogden. So if we go to the relationship with the teams, we're actually going to struggle to stay at this team currently, which is fine because hopefully I'm going to move up to Moto 2 anyway, but because we've got a pretty bad reputation with Scott Ogden there, so maybe we do need to try and be a bit nicer to Scott in the social media. But that's the first negative comment I've said to him. I've said quite a few positive ones, and he certainly took that one quite to heart there. But I mean, he's the one that's coming for me first, so I was only just responding to what he said. So there you go then, a pretty tough weekend there in Termas. I did actually test the AI before to try and get the difficulty right, but it seemed like I obviously made a mistake when I was testing, that I hadn't done enough laps, and they were probably a bit quicker than me, because I had them on 120 for qualifying. Did pretty well in practice, didn't do very well in qualifying. Then in the race, we were about right, but I did turn it down to 100. So I'm not really sure what to do in terms of the difficulty. I'm going to just keep trying to test it before every round, just so I can try and get it right. But so far, it doesn't really seem to be working, because every time I've tested it, I've had to then change it in the weekend anyway. But I hope you guys did enjoy that one nonetheless. We still had some decent battling, and it was quite an intense race trying to close up to the guys in front, but unfortunately not for the positions that we were fighting for in the previous round at Portimao. But if you're new to the channel, please do like the video and subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing plenty more MotoGP 23 game content. So if you like MotoGP 23, this is definitely the place to be. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.